So there's our little chicks on what, day 2 now, I guess. And Carolyn's already found a favorite. It's way over here in the back. She says it looks like an owl, not the blonde one, the one behind the blonde one. And it does. The face looks like an owl. So they're doing really well. We haven't lost any. We got 15. Now, as you know, yesterday I told you we still had 7 eggs, and we did a little float test to see if there were still potential chickens in there. And they floated correctly in the water. So we're going to give it more time, see how they do. Today is a little cloudy day, so we're really struggling to get enough electricity without running the generator. I mean, I'll have to run it at some point, but... So they're eating and just active and having a great time. It was kind of neat to watch. The first day they were hatched, they didn't eat or drink or do anything. They played a little bit and slept. And the second day, they ate and drank, ate and drank, and ate and drank. They sleep well through the night. So they had a severe storm warning all week heading for today. Yeah, and I woke up this morning and it said it's just severe storm warning, but not for this particular area. It was all the way around us, except here. West, we checked the town to the west of us. They weren't underneath the warning either, but the north and south towns were. So I went ahead and prepared for it like we were going to get hammered pretty hard. I parked the truck here. I do this regularly underneath the branches. That way when the hail comes, it doesn't just demolish the truck. I hear sirens in the background, so there must be some issues. So the storm did push through, but it looked really bad at first, and then nothing. It just fizzled out. It rained a little, cleared up. I guess the towns around us probably got hammered pretty hard, but we didn't. Now there's supposed to be another storm tonight, but they're saying the same thing. It kind of separates around us. So I wanted to walk through some of the things that we prepare for these storms. Spring, I told you in the past, is a pretty tough season for living off grid. You know, in the winter, it's cold, so you put firewood in this wood stove and you deal with it. It's no big deal. But in the spring, you're not sure if you're going to put firewood in or run a buddy heater, or if it's going to be opening the windows because it's so warm outside. Then you got the storms, and the storms are just terrible. The biggest problem I would think we would have with storms is hail. Hail is going to damage the solar panels, and I got 10 of them, and you can get one for $80 a piece. So you know, you're almost up to $800 that you would have to replace if hail came down and hit those. And I think I have a crack on one already. I see it, and I didn't notice it until today, but there's a little crack right here, which isn't that big of a deal. What will happen though is this panel, this cell, this portion of it will not put out any more electricity. It's probably done. So you only get everything around it. So when you look at a cell, that's the cell. I've actually put some solar cells together before in my lifetime. I did it. It was a disaster. These things break so easy. Well, they have a protection over this right now, but I've seen hail damage on solar panels, and you can buy them pretty cheap. You can pick up a solar panel for 20 bucks. It's hail damage. It's got a piece of hail in it. They still produce energy, just not as much. So if you are interested in buying solar panels, that might be another option for you. Go on Craigslist, see if you can find some busted up solar panels, and just play with them. But what I do is I try to cover up at least a set of them. So I covered up this one here, these. I got a board and some plastic I put over the other ones. And just in case the hail hits, I'd only have to replace some of them. The problem is, then you got the generator. I should have ran the generator. But in the meantime, it's been cloudy all day. So we've not been getting much of a charge on the batteries. The cloudy days pretty much just give us enough electricity to run the house. And then I come down in the evening, start the generator, and charge the batteries. That gives us enough to get through the night. Whereas on a sunny day, I got enough energy to power the house and charge the batteries. So when the storm hit and I had to cover it up, we weren't getting any electric, and it was off of batteries, which were already low because they ran through the night. So I probably should have started generators, what I'm trying to say. But we got through it. It was only a 30-minute storm. If it had been much longer, we'd have been out of electric. I'd been coming down here in the storm trying to start the generator. The chicken run has always done well in storms. The wind doesn't really seem to affect us too bad. You can see we're surrounded by trees. The trees sway just massively. But down here, the wind never gets that bad. So we've never had a problem with this taking off on us or anything. I mean, when we first set it up, we had it flip over on us one time. But now it's all hooked up. All 3 chicken runs are put together. They're hooked up to the chicken coop, so it can't go anywhere. So I worry that the tarps are gonna rip, but they never have. The snow ripped them because it was so heavy. These tarps don't last very long under UV. And so they get brittle. And you can see here they start to rip. Well, the snow kind of ripped that. So I put a new tarp on it. And that tarp wasn't very expensive, so I'll replace the tarp every, year or so. Now, what's really interesting is Frenchie, the rooster. He is very protective of his flock. Now, I don't know if this is all roosters or if this one is just unique. We have 2 roosters here. We got Frenchie and Roo. And Roo doesn't do anything. He fights Frenchie occasionally and loses, and then he mates with the hens if Frenchie lets him. But he doesn't do anything. Frenchie, on the other hand, he puts the girls to bed every night, pushes them in there and just rounds them up and gets them in there. Now, he's an Americana, and so we got Americana hens, we got New Hampshires, and Buff Orpingtons. I believe, just personal belief, the New Hampshires have better eyesight at nighttime than Frenchie does, the Americanas, because they don't want to go to bed. Everybody else is in bed, but they stay out. So he's all panicked. Every night he's all panicked trying to get them in there. Sometimes they'll go in, other times he just has to give up and put them away. Other times he just gives up and goes in there without them. Well, what I do is if they're still out, I mean, I open the chicken run door and they immediately go inside. They know it's time to go to bed then. So I try to help them out as much as possible. Now, this last storm, he was doing the same thing. He was getting them all to go inside, and they were pretty much following instructions. But his problem is I have these 2 little chicks in here, and they can't leave. They're actually being protected from the bigger chickens. So he was trying to get these guys to go into the coop with him. He kept running over there and going back to the coop, running over here and going back to the coop. And of course that didn't work. I don't know if they ever went to bed or if they just stayed where they are right now. I mean, I really don't know. But they seem to be okay. I'm a little worried about Frenchie not getting inside. But these guys would have been fine. I mean, they're in a really nice setup here. They wouldn't even gotten wet. Now, the thing is you know that we're going to have to butcher Frenchie and Roo. We've got 2 new roosters coming, and they're called Brahmas. Brahma roosters can get up to 12 pounds. Well, these roosters are only 6 pounds. We've checked to make sure that the Brahmas can mate with these chickens without hurting them, and they can. They actually will be a little bit more soft and tender because they won't have to get on top and put their claws on. They just kind of straddle over the hen. We're gonna get these roosters, 12 pounds versus 6 pounds. Well, Roo and Frenchie are always getting in fights. And Frenchie always puts them into place. But I think if Frenchie or Roo had the capability of actually injuring the other rooster, they would. They just don't have the strength to do it. But I would imagine if we got a Brahma in there with these 2 roosters, that it would be pretty damaging to Frenchie and Roo. I would imagine the Brahmas would just probably kill them. So we're gonna butcher them. Although it's sad, and there's a lot of people on my channel that don't want me to, there's just not much else we could do. They're not worth anything. We couldn't sell them. At least if we eat them, we're getting some value out of it. I mean, I don't know how much they've eaten in their lifetime, maybe $15, $20 total. So I mean, they've been pretty expensive to do nothing with other than breed. So I don't see any point in having 4 roosters. And the only reason we're getting 2 roosters is in case one dies during its development, that we'll still have 1 rooster that will be the same age as the others. That'll get these new roosters, the Brahmas, old enough to mate with the hens by next spring, and we'll have meat birds, because we get the hens, we got the Brahma hens, and we got the Brahma roosters, and they'll breed, and we'll get 10 to 12 pound birds next year. So I'm pretty excited about that. Brahmas also produce eggs during the winter. That's for their primary time of producing eggs. Because right now we only have the New Hampshires. We got, what, 4 New Hampshires? I think we got 4 New Hampshires. And they're the only ones that produce eggs through the winter. So we might get 2 to 3 eggs throughout the winter. But with the Brahmas giving the bulk of their eggs in the winter, and the New Hampshires, that'll be a huge amount of food for the winter. And then we'll have the Americanas and the Buff Orpingtons producing through the summer, and the New Hampshires. New Hampshires don't stop breeding. They're actually a pretty good egg producer from what I can see here. So as you know, the well gets dirty when there's a heavy rain, but it hasn't rained for like a week. All this spring we've had a lot of rain. I mean, it's been non-stop rain, and so the well has been dirty most of the spring. We'll go a couple days without any rain, and I would flush it out, clean the well. That's how you do it. You just pump all the water out about 3 times, and that gives you clean well water. If you'll check out that super thanks button, I'd really appreciate it. So I hope I can inspire you to be prepared so you can live your dream. Thanks for watching.